if you look at where things are right now in the city, um, I wasn't kidding in the very beginning when I said it's really great that Mayor Evans could take the time to be here because clearly we see firsthand a lot of the things that go on in the city, and we are probably more aware of the things that are happening than the average person because we have rental units and we see tenants that cover the whole gamut of the individuals that make up the city. And we know the parts that's good and we know the parts that's bad. We know the parts that are able to be fixed, and there are some pieces that I would say if you start right now, you got 30 years, then you probably will still be struggling even a little bit thin. It sounds like a bleak picture, but we have to start somewhere. So one of the reasons that we invite individuals like Mayor Evans here is because they get a chance to see you and know you as an individual, as a person. And you'll have an opportunity, at least a part of you will, to just share some of your thoughts, some of your words with him. And that makes a big difference because now there's a picture that's in the mind of individuals around, okay, this person is doing this, and that's similar to what I heard from this particular group. So the picnic, yeah, we'll have fun right after we all meet and do our normal picnic thing, but we wanted to just change the framework this way, and for the last couple of years, that's what we've done. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Mayor Evans, the individual that has all these challenges, say a few words, give us his thoughts, and without further ado, Mayor Evans, thank you very much.
Now, I see there's people on the grill, so I won't belabor you and talk for too long, because I don't want you guys to run me out of here and then not invite me back next year. So I'm going to be brief, and then maybe we'll get a chance to connect with some of you that are here. But I'll tell you a story. I mean, so 8 months ago, I started in this office. And, you know, I'll tell you how the year started. The year started with I had invitations out for an inauguration that was going to have 2,000 people. I had people flying from all over the country to come to this big party that we were going to have to celebrate me becoming the new mayor of Rochester. But on the 31st, John might remember this, I had a press conference telling people the inauguration's off and it's going to be scaled down and that the party is going to have to be postponed because my first day in office, we had the COVID numbers spiked. County executive called me and said, oh, you can't have this big mass gathering, you got to change that. And I'm like, okay. So then I get sworn in. My son swears me in. I got, you know, half of the not even half of the crowd that was there, maybe 20 people and some cameras that were able to be there. I was able to get away with that. And I'm like, all right, Monday, we're going full bore. I'm laying on the couch. And when you're mayor, you have multiple phones. So I probably got 3 phones, right? I literally have 3 phones. So I got an Android, I got 2 iPhones, but then I hate to say this, but this is my bad news phone. And my bad news phone rang on January 2nd, which was a Sunday. Monday was to be my first day in office. I got a call from the chief and then our emergency operations center. Anytime there's a shooting, anytime, any bad news, anytime there's a problem with a plane, anytime there's any of that stuff, no matter the time, I get woken up on that. And I was laying on the couch watching the football game. I don't know if it was the Pro Bowl or something like that. And the phone rang and I got word. I'm like, my first Sunday in office, I just got sworn in the day before, that 14-year-old Julius Greer Jr. was shot and killed on North Street while he was going to the store to go buy noodles for his family. So I'm like, what did I get myself into? But I tell you those stories because as a leader, you have a vision of what it is that you want to do, but you always have to remember that you have to keep going back to why you decided to do what you did. And I will tell you all that I had a great life. I was a banker. That was my career. I was a banker. I worked with a lot of people like you. helping them get properties, helping commercial properties. I spent 20 years in banking. But one of the reasons why I took this job is because I really believed that Rochester needed to be taken to the next level. And I will tell you that, I tell you those stories because it reminded me my first day that our most pressing challenge in our community right now is public safety. If people don't feel safe, they won't come to Rochester. If people don't feel safe, they won't come rent. If you have properties in Rochester, they're not going to come to the areas in which you are have your properties and be able to stay. So one of my biggest challenges that I have right now is public safety, and one that we are tackling head on. But I told you all that bad stuff, but I also want to say some of the good stuff that's happening. And that same week, that same month that I was there, you know, I was told that we're going to get $100 million for the Interloop to develop 28 acres of space that we will be able to use for new single-family homes, other homes that we could have, businesses that we'll be able to develop there. So you also have, you know, that type of news that allows us to be able to know that Rochester could be on the rise. I got news that Rochester is going to have the third only urban state park in all of New York State, where we transform our high falls. That we got dollars to create our aqueduct project, so that way we can make use of our water facilities to attract folks to the city. That we got more money for housing, to be able to build quality housing in the city, to keep people in places that will allow them to be able to be there. So you have to, as a leader, be able to take the good for the bad, but also be able to keep that vision of what's important to be able to take Rochester to the next level. And I won't go through all the priorities, but for me, we focus on 6 key areas. Public safety is number 1, because without public safety, you don't have anything else. Economic empowerment is the other one. We have to make sure that we power people economically. I have a business czar that I have in the mayor's office, because business is so important to me. Not only supporting existing businesses, but getting other people to understand business. Home ownership, property ownership, and business are 2 ways in which we can help people realize the American dream, period. You want to transform cities, you help people be able to put money in their pocket, provide for their families, and transform their lives and create generational wealth. And that is what all of you are doing. So that's important for us. So public safety, economic empowerment, youth development is important. We want to make sure our young people are getting jobs. This year, this summer, we have the largest number of young people that are engaged in youth employment. If young people are working, they're staying out of trouble. And if they're working, they're able to help their parents be able to buy some of the things that they want to buy, but more importantly, they're planting seeds that will be able to transform their lives as they continue to go forward, and they're understanding what a good, strong work ethic is. They're getting involved in positive programs. That's important. And then our other one is building for a prosperous future, making sure that we continue to build throughout our city. We need to be a city that builds. You know, I got a complex about Rochester, and I get mad. I love Buffalo, but I get mad when I hear about them getting $1 billion, or that they're building this. I'm like, wait, but we can do the same thing here. We have that ingenuity, that spirit. So some of these projects that I'm pushing, I want to make sure that we continue to do that. The bane of my existence is the corner of Main and Clinton. If you want to talk to me afterwards, you'll hear me talk about what we're going to do at Main and Clinton. We were able to get $10 million from the state to transform the corner of Main and Clinton. Those 4 corners have so many things going on. But I don't know, has anybody seen the corner of Main and Clinton? Dilapidated, fallen down. So we are in the process of getting ready to transform that corner with a major investment that's going to transform that corner, so that way it will fit in with the other 4 corners. Because when I bring people to town, I want to make sure that they see that Rochester is on the rise. And that's part of us building a prosperous future. And then the other area that we focus on is neighborhoods, and that's where you all come in. That's where you all come in. We need to make sure that we have strong housing stock, but more importantly, that we empower their neighbors to know that in order to transform Rochester, we have to activate the power and belief in our neighborhoods, that people take pride there, and that we put services, jobs, and area and things in that neighborhood that will bring pride, but more importantly, lift not just one neighborhood, but every single neighborhood in Rochester. And we have some serious challenges in our neighborhoods, particularly as it relates to public safety. I tell people, sometimes you turn on the news, you're like, oh man, there's so much violence in Rochester. But do you realize that 90% of the shootings only take place in about 7% of our streets? Think about that. So there are neighborhoods that are literally under siege. And we have to work to make sure that we transform that in our community. And then our last one is a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So those are some of the areas that are important to us. But I want to say to you all, I want you to realize, and I hope you understand this, because you may not think about it because you're so busy doing your work that you probably are not patting yourself on the back. But what you are doing is really transformational. Because if you're providing housing to someone who maybe did not have a place to live before, you're changing their life. Because all the data is clear. And I don't know if you know this, but that if a person has a stable home, somewhere to live, they're more likely to keep their job, they're more likely to be healthier, they're more likely for their family and kids to be able to stay in school. So although you are housing providers, although you are landlords, although you may be property managers, really what you are transformational agents, because you are allowing people to be able to have a roof over their head. And that's transformational. That's transformational. And I want to thank you for being able, for stepping in to be able to do that. Because I'll tell you, I'm a banker, and I thought about once buying property. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because, I mean, it is a lot of work, a lot of energy. I can't think about when I was in the bank how many people got divorced because of what this does, where it takes you away from. Should you invest in another one or not? Should you keep the one that you have? And if you have a job and you're putting all this money into that property that you may not see a return on, or you might have somebody destroy your property and you can't get them out. I mean, there's all of these challenges that you have, and the fact that you have decided to do this, it's very important. And then the last point I want to make before I be quiet and let you guys eat and have a good time is that groups like this are very important because you're able to pass on knowledge to people who may not have the skills or maybe thinking about doing it, and they need to be able to connect with someone. I tell people all the time that if you want to go into business, you got to have, and people don't like me saying this, but you got to get it because it keeps you out of trouble. You got to get a lawyer. You got to get an accountant. You better get an insurance person. You better get a banker. Banker first, because I'm a banker. Banker first. But the other thing that's so important, more so than any of that, is a mentor. Somebody that you can connect with. And for many of you, I talked to someone, they said, oh yeah, I just started doing this and this group is so good for them. You all have the ability to be a mentor to a whole generation of people that might be thinking about getting in this business. And you might save them from making a mistake, or you might be able to help them be able to take their business to the next level. So I want to thank you all for all that you're doing for our community. You really are partners in me being able to transform Rochester, because access to good quality housing is the centerpiece of everything that we're going to need in our city to be able to transform our neighborhoods. And I want to thank you for doing that. And I'll tell you, it's been a tough 8 months. I mean, I've had 0 honeymoon period. I've lost a lot of sleep. Sometimes I wake up and say, wow, what am I doing? But at the end of the day, I believe that I have an obligation to do everything I can for however long I do this to be able to help and transform Rochester. But the only way to be able to do that is to make sure that you have partners like you. And I want to thank you all for just inviting me here, because that means that you're interested in seeing Rochester thrive as a city. So I will shut my mouth, Mr. and just say thank you for you all being here. And I can stay for a little bit, and I look forward to mingling with all of you. But Leon, thank you so much for inviting me. And now, see, the problem is that you invited me now. So if I don't get invited to future picnics, I'm going to be like, all right, did I do something? So now I hope this will be an annual tradition of me coming and having the opportunity to connect with all of you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're just going to say a few words, and that is, given what Mayor Evans has outlined, it really is a call for help and support from us. And I just want to make sure that folks understand, and Mayor Evans understand, that the people that you see in front of you, they're willing to help. They're willing to do the work that's necessary to begin the transformation of the city of Rochester. And a lot of people do it on almost every day anyway. So, but they're ready to help. So all you have to do is just let us know, and a number of us are on committees with the city, but let us know what direction you want us to play, what it is that you want us to do, and we're more than willing to help.
Thank you.